throw them out.
Yeah, just got to do that.
Yeah. All right. So the next card we're talking about is Emberspire, which is a 2-mana casting cost with 2 red threshold. So double reds there. It is a 2/2. Green text Swift Strike. We're assuming Swift Strike is part of this card right now since it is a rare. But it also does have another cool ability, which is Champions Can't Gain Health, which specifically in red is a pretty cool thing to have.
Oh yeah, this card is definitely a cornerstone of any red deck. It is the out to the very powerful life gain cards that do exist in this set so far. If you can keep Emberspire Witch in play, you're basically going to beat the white decks that are going to lean on life gain to try and beat you. The downside, of course, is that if they can remove this guy, suddenly all their life gain cards turn back on. So you have to protect your Emberspire Witch. However, you only need a couple turns where they can't gain health pretty much to kill them, so you don't have to protect it for too long, and its base stats are pretty good. Red has always been happy to play a 2/2 for 2. That's mostly fine. So I would say that constructed, it is going to be guaranteed 4 of main deck in every aggressive red deck. In draft, the ability is a lot worse. Champions Can't Gain Health is not super relevant, except against certain champions or certain decks. But a 2/2 Swift Strike 2 is decent just on its own. The double red threshold is kind of annoying. It requires you to be sort of heavy red to play it. But 2/2 First Strike is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, First Strike in Limited is actually really good. Most Limited games revolve mostly about creature combat, and Swift Strike dominates creature combat. The champions gain health. Typically in Magic, gaining health or countering life gain is not really going to be that relevant. But in Hex, there's actually a champion that has a built-in give a creature life drain or whatever they call it. And so I think there's going to be a higher chance that you're going to encounter opposing life gain. So that value or that ability gains a little bit of value. And then as far as constructed, I think you pretty much nailed it. The mono red deck is going to play 4 of these in the main deck. Reliably casting them on turn 2 is going to be pretty sweet. And then shutting down their life gain is exactly what you need to have, because people are probably going to be playing Eternal Youth and messing around with the champion that gains life. And if your opponent's gaining life, the red deck just cannot win. So, yeah, this will be a mainstay in constructed.
In playing around with cards over here, simulated drafts and deck testing, it turned out to be a pretty powerful card.
So it's a rare, so if you open these, hold on to them for a little while till the demand jumps up. It's pretty sweet, and invest if you can find them.
Okay, so if you guys are following us on Hex Data Mine, we are skipping Furious Taskmaster because there's no information on that card. Moving on then to Goreseeker, which is a 5-mana casting cost with 2 red threshold. This creature is a 2/2 Swift Strike with Rage 1.
Okay, so the base stats on this guy are obviously terrible. A 2/2 for 5 is laughably small. However, he does have Swift Strike, which is great for fighting, and Rage 1, so he does get better. In Constructed, this guy is still not really good enough. A 2/2 for 5 is terrible, and no one blocks anyway. But in Limited, he could be good enough. I mean, again, a 2/2 is pretty weak. He does die to burn, which is kind of annoying. But if he can survive and get a couple of attacks in, he's basically unstoppable. The creatures in this set are mainly small, so no one can really block him profitably. If you have any kind of trick, they can get blown out. I could consider drafting a couple. I think there might be some better 5-drops, but he's not bad. If you can get him going, he gets pretty strong.
Yeah, Goreseeker at 2/2 for 5, not the greatest on paper, but I would not be sad to play a couple of these in a limited deck. I wouldn't pick them highly. I'm going to pick stuff like Burn or cheap good creatures above him. But late in the pack, if I'm in red, I would gladly take something like this and consider playing it, just because once he attacks, 3 power with Swift Strike is pretty formidable and limited. Constructed, way too expensive, and He's just not big enough. Doesn't do enough. There's other cards you can be playing that are going to win you the game faster.
I agree that his real drawback is 5 cost and only 2 toughness. That's really where this card falls. In an Inspire deck, I think there might still be potential. He may be playable. Get him that extra little bit of toughness so he doesn't get snuffed out by a burn or any little 2 damage. Inspire decks would benefit him pretty well, especially with like Steadfast and a couple extra stat points here and there would make it a much scarier card. But as to whether that'll actually be playable in the Inspire deck, probably won't know until we see all of the cards.
Ironically, he's better in the Inspire deck because he costs so much.
Right.
I'm not sure that's a good thing.
I think it's still bad.
There are better Inspire guys in red that we will see farther down the list.
Right.
Indeed. And there's Ash Harpy.
Yeah.
So on to Baron's favorite card, the 4-mana casting cost, 2 red threshold Head Games. This is a basic action spell. Secretly choose 5 or 10. Target opposing champion guesses which number you chose. If they guess incorrectly, deal damage to them equal to the number you chose. If they do guess correctly, deal damage to you equal to the number you chose.
Okay, so this is the worst card I've ever seen in my life. There's nothing good about it, and you're only going to die every time you play it because you're going to choose whatever, and they're going to choose correctly, and you're going to get blown out. If you play this, you are a troll and a bastard, and I hate you. And it's really terrible. Okay, so obviously in Limited, it doesn't even do anything. Even if you choose correctly, it can only go to the face, and Lava Axe isn't that impressive. I mean, if someone plays against me in Limited, I will just choose 10 every time and probably take 5, and that's fine. That's not that big a deal. They can't kill the creature. It only goes to you, so whatever. In Constructed, I don't know. It's just god-awful. I'd probably do the same thing. It's just really bad. Like, what if they can outgame you? You don't want to play things where your opponent gets to make a choice, or you don't even know what's going to happen. Like, it could win the game. It could cost you the game. Why are you playing this card instead of a better card?
Yeah, I would never play this in Constructed. It does nothing. Limited, we got somebody in the chat saying it's got 15% first pick. I think that's just because people think it's cool and they don't actually know how card games work or something. I don't know. But I would never pick this. I don't even know. Never pick this, never play it. There was a cool PvE combo I saw that involved this card. Basically infinite damage to your AI opponent, but that's not important.
The thing about this is that, like, the inconsistency is really annoying. Like, imagine trying to play in, like, a Pro Tour qualifier with Head Games, okay? Even if, like, you have a pretty good chance of getting them every time, somehow, magically, I feel it's very likely to cost you a very important game. Like, you can't have cards like this that are this swingy with no real, like, chance for you. It's gonna kill you at a critical moment. I can guarantee it. I recommend strongly against playing this. Just play another Ruby source instead. Play whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Don't play Head Games.
Yeah, especially in a long tournament like a PTQ or the equivalent. Like, just winning every single time, the chances get astronomically low. Moving on.
The next card we're looking at is much less trolly. This is a 3-mana casting cost with 3 red thresholds, so pretty deep red for this card. This is Inferno. At the start of each champion's turn, this constant deals 3 damage to him.
Okay, this is a sweet card. There was a magic card like this called Sulfuric Vortex, I believe, and it was extremely good. This card is very similar, and I can imagine it being very, very powerful as well. In a red aggressive deck that wants to kill the opponent, this is exactly where you want to be. You don't care about your life total, really, because it's not going to go down faster than theirs. So this is basically just 3 damage to them this turn, 3 damage to them next turn. If it even only triggers twice, that's the best burn spell in the format. But hits them 3 times, like, you just can't really lose. If you resolve this on turn 3, and it gets going, it's a repeatable, fairly high damage source that is really going to get somewhere in Constructed. It is, of course, exactly the opposite in Limited. I probably wouldn't play this. It's too risky that they can turn the damage race around on you, and then you're killing yourself with your own Inferno. The 3 red also kind of hurts it. That's a lot of red. So in Constructed, 100% playable in the aggressive red deck. In Limited, I would say, unless you've built that sort of deck as well, fairly unplayable. It's just a little bit too risky with their ability to turn the race around.
Yeah, pretty much identical thoughts. In Limited, it's just very unpredictable. You have a lot less control over what kind of deck you're going to be playing. So, like Inferno, where it just heavily favors the quick aggressive deck, you're not going to have enough control to guarantee that this card's going to be amazing or even cast it. In Constructed, though, the effect is just what the red deck wants. It's a non-creature source of recurring damage. So it's going to be very hard to deal with. I mean, there are going to be cards that are going to answer constants like this, but I think people are mostly going to be concerned about killing creatures. And with this, it's just a 3-mana investment, continual source of damage. And if you play this and you're ahead on the damage race, which you're going to be, it's just the perfect card.
I want to point out as well, every card that deals with a constant like this is either a basic action or costs a fair amount of mana to use as an instant. There's one card to do that, I believe. So
yeah, it's like a 5-mana card.
Yeah, so basically either they're spending their entire turn doing it, which means, and it's their turn as well, so that means they've taken more damage from it than you have. Like, even if you play it and they kill it right away, they've taken 3, which is pretty much fine.
3 for 3.
And 3 for 3 is perfectly acceptable, and a card out of their hand, and basically their entire turn. So if you imagine it like this, this is a 3-mana creature with 3 power that is unblockable, and also deals damage to you. But it's a 3/3 haste, unblockable for 3. I think I would play that card all day long in Hex, and I recommend you do the same.
I think it's even better than if it were an unblockable creature, since it is a constant, and as we've seen so far, there's pretty limited constant removal.
Yes.
So with that said, on to the next card, Infusion of Ruby. This is a 3-mana casting cost, 1 red threshold, basic action. Target troop gets permanent rage 2.
So this is a kind of an interesting, not exactly a trick, but it is kind of a cool creature enchantment. It does give him a bonus right away. So whatever you put it on when you attack that turn will get +2/+0. So that's not bad. However, it does suffer from the aura problem, where if they can kill that guy, they've basically 2-for-1'd you, where they've gotten 2 cards for only 1 of theirs. The red deck doesn't always care about being 2-for-1'd. It's more just into trying to kill them as fast as possible and hoping they don't have anything. So if when they tap out you play Infusion of Ruby, you can maybe get them. And if you attack the second time, your guy's just getting pretty scary. However, I don't really like the fact that it's sorcery, and I don't really like the fact that they still can burn you out or anything like that. It's only plus the power. Especially in Constructed, where they're going to have removal pretty consistently. In Limited, I'd play this on a flyer. I think that's pretty sweet. If you get a flying creature with rage, you're pretty much going to win the game. I think it's worth the risk of getting blown out by a removal spell to kill them within only a couple of turns.
Yeah, the value on this card goes way up when you have evasion. There's like a intimidate variant in Hex also. Like, this creature can only be blocked by creatures of the same color or artifacts. And then flying 2 is really good. I mean, that just guarantees more damage on them, and then every turn they don't answer, it's just getting crazy. They're going to die real quick. Constructed, there's no way I'm ever going to play this card. It's just too risky for not enough.
The damage does go up really fast in Limited, though. Like, if you play it on a 1/1 flyer, you're attacking for 3 and then 5 the following turn. Like, that's a lot of power really fast.
Yeah, no, in Limited, on an evasive creature, I would play 1 or 2 of these in my deck.
Yeah. If I had enough flyers, yes, absolutely.
Do rages stack? If something has rage 1 and you use this, would it have rage 3?
I believe so.
I believe so.
Like, is that
Well, it
how
wouldn't
magic
have
worked, I should ask.
that is how magic worked. It wouldn't actually have Rage 3. I believe it would have Rage 1 and Rage 2.
Okay.
So I'm not sure it matters, but they would trigger individually.
All right. Would you